Tuesday, June 17th at approximately 6:38. Sorry about that, guys. But I will call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand, everybody, and let's pledge our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we need a roll call, and I think Mr. Swike will take the call tonight in place of Chris Mellon, who is absent.
Okay,
Okay?
a roll
You know
call.
all our names, don't you, Jeff?
So,
Okay.
If you would like. Okay.
Well, since he's new.
Mr. Swike,
I'm here.
Mr. Rich is absent, Mr. Mellon is absent, Counselor Chandler Felton,
Present.
Counselor Pettit,
Here.
myself, Brian Deering, aye, and President Uselak.
Here. Okay,
have a
we have a
quorum.
quorum,
Yep.
and we will continue on with the meeting then. I have no communications, the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th, 25, and June 3rd, 2025?
So moved.
Second? No,
Okay.
go ahead, Chandler. Ms. Chandler Felton, yeah, second.
Ms. Chandler Felton got
Yes.
the second, and Sean Pettit was the first. Okay, so we have a motion to approve and a second to approve, and the minutes are so. We don't need a roll call vote on
No,
that, do
all
we?
those, no, voice
Okay,
vote.
all in favor, voice vote?
Aye.
Aye.
All not in favor? Negative? No negativities?
Nope.
So we have an approval on the minutes. Okay, continuing on, are there any communications from the board members? None? Continuing on with comments from me, I have no comments tonight, except guess what? The weather's getting very hot, so get prepared, guys. Any old business, board members? None? New business? None? Okay, we will continue with item 1. P4CPL-0625, Rossman Partners, LLC petitioner and Schilling Brother Lumber and Hardware Incorporated owner. Okay, located at 7990 East 81st Avenue in Crumpler, and the request, a conceptual plan unit development on +/-10.28 acres in a C3 highway commercial zoning district to allow a retail C-store with fuel flex warehouse. Okay, can we hear from you?
Madam President, I have a letter that I would like to read requesting deferral.
Okay,
Dear Ms. Shine, please let this letter serve as notice from the petitioner. Rossman Partners LLC is requesting to defer the conceptual plan unit development meeting voted scheduled for June 17, 2025. Petition requests the deferment until it has completed its traffic impact study and has received any other necessary documents or studies. Should the petitioner receive relevant information which the Planning Commission should be made aware of, we may request a follow-up workshop meeting to obtain further thoughts and feedback. Thank you, Ross Brown, Advent Real Estate Advisors.
so,
Do we need to make a motion on that, Joe?
You do.
okay, before you make the motion, what was the gist of what you read?
So they
I
are,
didn't get it all.
They just
What?
want deferral.
they are requesting deferral so they can do their traffic study and get other documents to support their petition.
Oh, okay, so they wanted deferral.
Madam
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes, Brian.
Before we go for a motion, I'd like to open this for a quick discussion.
Okay,
Because I think it's germane to both properties, the one that's in front of us and the possible future one on the other side of the road. Back in 16, we did an approval for Crew Car Wash, okay?
yes,
At the time, there was the problem, they had done traffic studies they had done, they had gone to NDOT. NDOT wouldn't give them a curb cut. And we found a number of ordinances and state statutes. In our ordinance book, in section 19, transitions from a primary to a secondary 2-lane or 4-lane road, there has to be a stacking lane on these people's property so that cars turning, trucks turning, fuel trucks, especially with the fuel flex storage, turning in and out, they will have to put in between a 100 and 300 foot turning lane to turn into their property if they do not get an NDOT approval. It can be for a curb cut. They can get away with 100 foot if they get the curb cut. If they do not get the curb cut, then we're looking probably close to 300 feet that they would have to put in because of trucks or cars turning to go south from the westbound lane, turning the eastbound lane, turning in. And we're also looking, there would probably have to be a fairly wide opening for cars and trucks to get in and out. If they just put in a regular right in, right out on Randolph Street, you're gonna have these huge fuel trucks, not only the ones that service the filling station, but this flex fuel business. They're gonna have to turn out onto a fairly narrow, just the town statutes, but what appears to be a fairly narrow 2-lane road. It's not like over by Wendy's.
Well, my suggestion is, with this discussion going on right now, where the petitioner's not here to defend themselves.
Right.
That Sheila make them aware of what we're dealing with, so they can prepare to the meeting.
That's what I was thinking.
I'll tell you guys, because we've had this conversation, being in my ward, Steve was there, Sheila was there, Angie was there, and we met with these gentlemen. And I made it perfectly clear, and I will stand by it. I will make the motion to deny. You are going to rebuild Randolph from 83rd to US 30 in the configuration that Steve and Bob recommend. There are 2 big, huge humps in that road. You have a drive for the Lutheran Church. They're proposing 2 drives. I've had this discussion with them. It ain't going no further if there's not a serious, we gotta see some serious stuff in the traffic study.
Well, no, but we want compliance, and Bob and Steve are aware of this, I'm sure.
Right.
And we want compliance with all ordinances. So if the ordinances call for a additional lane,
Stacking lane.
stacking lane,
Stacking lane.
then that's gotta be a part of the
Now,
project.
before everybody got here, Matt was here on another petition in front of the Economic Development Committee. But we talked about it, and I had the drawing. He said that the southern drive, they're proposing 2 drives on Randolph. The southern drive is where the semis are gonna go in. And I said, is that first drive smaller, Matt? And he goes, well, they don't wanna go in that first drive anyway. It's too hard of a turn for the semis. They will go, and the way the pumps are designed and the parking is angled, they will go south on Randolph, hit the second drive and turn in, and then head back north on the property into the filling, the pumps area. So, yeah, we're gonna have to have, this is a very unique situation.
Well, and this
It
is
really
why I brought it up. I didn't want them to come back in a month or 2 months or whenever and think that we blindsided them. I wanted to get it out in the open so that they are made aware when they go to the state, when they redo their drawings, that they come in with the proper information in
Right.
hand. You know, I didn't
Right.
want them to ever say that we didn't tell them.
Well, maybe our engineers, Steve and Bob, could meet with them before the next meeting and make them aware of their.
Yeah, we can meet with Ross and
I
his
think
crew.
that would
Yeah.
be the best suggestion, so
All
when
right.
they do come to the meeting, they are prepared, and you could keep them aware of everything. I think that's a pretty good idea.
Like I say, there's a state statute involved of transitioning
Right.
from a turn lane on a state highway. There's also our town ordinance involved
Sure.
with a transition lane going from a primary to a secondary road.
Well, I'm sure Bob is aware of all of that, correct, Bob?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then the 2 of you could meet with this developer and
Yes.
make them aware of everything, and I don't think we need a motion for that, do we?
We need
We need a
to
motion for the
defer.
deferral.
And
For the deferral.
I'll make a motion to defer P4 CP1-0625.
Second.
Okay, motion on the floor by Mr. Brian Daring and a second from, who was the second? Leona?
Leona.
Second from Leona Phelps.
Chandler Phelps.
Chandler.
Yep.
Leona Chandler
Phelps.
Phelps. Oh,
Felton.
okay.
Felton.
Felton, okay, Leona.
All
You got
those?
the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed.
And one last thing, Sheila, if the other fella on the north side of the road does come in, to, do a petition to, build on that property another gas station, definitely we'll need to make him aware of this also.
Which guy?
You said that the fella on the north, northern corner, up by the, eyeglass, labs, there was another petitioner that might come in for another gas station on the opposite side of the street on the westbound lane?
Eyeglass place.
Yeah, on that corner, it's,
Smiles on Randolph is already there.
yeah, but you said that the property owner on the northern, on the corner there might want to put in a gas station also. We had that discussion
He's
last
talking
quarter.
about the petitioner that's gonna wanna go next to the property.
Next to Bar Walter's
Right.
property, right, that's further down.
Okay.
It's on the other side. It's
So he is
Motors.
further down, he's not at a signalized intersection.
No, he's not at a signalized intersection, neither
Fair
is
enough.
Tom. That's the problem.
Yep, fair enough.
Okay.
All right, Brian?
Yes, ma'am, no, that's all I had.
Okay, continuing on with the meeting, let's go to item 2. P5FS1-0625, TPL Silos, LLC petitioner and owner, located at southwest corner of East 73rd Avenue. Request final 6-lot subdivision approval on 63.25 acres in a CIS/commercial industrial zoning district. The purpose, to allow a 2-building speculative logistics center. Okay, who is here representing TPL Silos? Would you please give us your name and address?
John LaBelle, project manager with Arco Murray, from 549 West Randolph Street, Suite 100 in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay. I think we have discussed this before too, didn't we?
And,
Yes, we have,
We went
yeah.
through a lot with this. Did you find out about the frontage road? I'm thinking that's was.
No,
supposed to be-
no frontage road, no,
No
this
frontage.
this is,
Contact into.
ladies and gentlemen, this is as easy a vote as we're gonna make,
Right.
trust me,
Okay, go on.
trust me. So,
What is it, Sean?
why don't we have Sheila read the report, and then I'm gonna make a motion since it's in my area.
Okay. Go on, Sheila.
Petitioner is requesting final 6-lot subdivision approval to allow a 2-building speculative logistics center on 63.25 acres in the CIS Commercial Industrial Zoning District. The proposed project seeks to generate future economic development in the town of Merrillville. Surface water will be collected by storm sewers and directed to the 3 interconnected detention basins that discharge to culvert in 73rd Avenue Road, and other flow goes to the existing wetlands to be preserved. All roofs and paved areas are collected into the storm sewer. There are no downspouts or pumps. And we receive approval today from Robinson Engineer, and we also have a stormwater permit.
Okay. Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve PSFS 1-0625.
Why is that you're approving it?
No, motion to approve.
Yeah, we need a
Oh,
motion.
sorry.
John and, let's rattle it, John and Arco Murray, Matt Cruz, and Crow Holdings, all you have to do is go down to Silos at Sanders Farm and see what kind of product they put out.
Okay.
I cannot be happier with what they have done. They brought the 1 million square foot Amazon facility. These
Okay.
will have 3 buildings, 250,000 ones, John, and a 400.
First 2 will be about 200,000 square feet apiece.
200,000 square feet. They were willing to move the driveway down Mississippi to avoid, ironically, 2 of our Merrillville employees live on the east side of Mississippi, but they were willing to move the drive down. Everything we've ever asked Matt Cruz to do, he has done without hesitation. So I cannot speak highly enough about these guys.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. NDOT did not approve the frontage road?
There is no frontage road.
There is no frontage.
This is Mississippi and 73rd.
I don't know, why am I thinking there was a frontage?
This is between I-65 and Mississippi and the south side of 73rd Avenue. It's the old Halstead Farm and Modrak Farm.
Oh, Modred, okay. All right, there's a motion on the floor. This is Sean Pettit's word, correct?
Yes.
To approve item P4C P1-0625. Can I have a second?
I second the motion.
Oh, thank you, Jeff Swipe. There's a second by Mr. Jeff Swipe. And I think all we need is a voice call on this, correct?
No, I'd like a
Roll call? Okay, then we will go ahead and have a roll call vote, Brian.
1 second. Mr. Swike,
Yes.
Ms. Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Mr. Pettit,
Yes.
myself, aye. President Uzelak.
Aye. Okay, the motion's been approved for item P5FS1-0625. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
When will you start clearing, do you think?
This week.
This week?
Okay, continuing on, is there any other business, board members?
Madam President, I had, again, a couple of projects in my ward on US 30, and I had asked Mark Anderson and Tom Fitzpatrick. We've had a couple of Zoom calls, Steve and I, about the situation on the north side of US 30. As you guys might remember, we approved Storage of America on property that was owned by Barb Alters. Thomas since closed and owns that property to build the mini warehouses. And I guess with that, Mark, I'll turn it over to you or Steve if we want to get into this. There's a concern by Tom about the requirement to build a frontage road in front of the development, so.
May I pass out some materials?
No paper.
No paper.
Wait, you gotta take your tie off first before you pass it out. Yeah, Jeff might not have seen this, Mark, because he was a newer member when you came through the last time, Tom, I think.
Thank you.
And you made it so I can read it, thank you.
Yeah.
And then we
Thanks,
talked
Mark.
about it in March, August,
These papers like you did.
October.
Thanks, Mark.
Is that the same one?
That is the same one,
Okay, I got it. I've got it digitally.
Okay.
Yeah, so probably, given even the size of this, you're not gonna be able to see the details of it, so we.
Right.
Pass it on to you.
Sure. I just want to give a background. When we originally approached Indiana Department of Transportation with our site, they basically, in the emails that they gave us two options. A full left turn into our site with, of course, with, but we'd have to build out the median, and then they were talking about possibly a frontage road, or you could do a right in, right out. So we chose the right in, right out, and then we submitted it, we did it, the site plan and things of that nature here, had approval, resubmitted to Indiana Department of Transportation for building permits, and they said, no, you need to do a frontage road. In a memo of March 6th of this year, they came out with that. Well, that frontage road is a deal killer for us. It's like a $500,000 investment that we would have to make. We bought the property without having that dollar amount available. So what it did is it basically takes a lot of the property, and it also takes away from our ability to make the project work. Talking about it, it also encroaches upon, we took some data from the frontage road on the other side of the street, laid it out over our side of the street, and that's the document that Mark just handed out. And then we subsequently had a little Zoom call last week. Member Pettit, he was kind enough to share his input with it, and then also the town engineer as well. We had a discussion with Indiana Department of Transportation about it. They made it sound like everybody'd been talking about it for a while, which I don't think was the case, other than the March 6th letter of this year. We've been looking at it and we understand the safety and the need to address safety on this, but looking at the whole thing, instead of doing a frontage road, I think that we could identify, I was kind of hoping Indiana Department of Transportation would be here. They're not here tonight, Sean?
Yeah, they don't show up for meetings.
No, they won't. They won't.
So are you asking us to overrule the recommendations of NDOT?
There's my question.
Well, here's the way it was put to us on the Zoom call, Joe, from Lauren Huffman, was these frontage roads are being asked for by the town of Merrillville, which I've been on the council 22 years, and I've never been asked to put in a frontage road. All the frontage roads have already been in the town. Steve and I had this discussion. We're paving and spending our bond issue money, Margie,
Yeah.
paving the frontage roads along Broadway. Okay? Now, Steve tells me those are our frontage, that right-of-way is ours, or is that
Those,
NDOT right-of-way?
those are our roads. Those frontage roads are in our roadway inventory.
And we're responsible for them.
Yeah.
So NDOT makes us, they make the developer put the frontage road in, and then they turn it over to us to maintain.
Then they turn it over
That's a
to us.
sweet deal for NDOT. That makes me love
Yeah.
this agency even more.
What about those frontage roads on 30?
Same thing.
Okay,
Those-
we own
those are
all
ours.
frontage roads
Well,
by,
Art Hill,
Here's what I'm gonna say right now. If I want clarification, there's some clear clarification from NDOT that NDOT is requiring this and they're gonna relent on their request. Because there's no way I'm gonna overrule a state agency and have them come back, except if Bob Zaney wants to approve this, then I have no problem with it.
well,
But he better call his malpractice carrier.
well, I thought they said that if the town, we could ask for a waiver, couldn't we, Steve? Wasn't that part of the call?
I didn't
That's
hear.
why I wanted to bring it back to the planning commission and then town council, if this is what we wanna do, so we don't lose a how many $1 million investment, Tom?
It's a $500,000 just.
No, I mean your overall investment.
Oh, our overall investment is about $2.3 million in phase one, and to do something like this is adding about $400,000 to that. And that's when we already have the margin set up for that to make it work for the investment that we have, it doesn't work right now. It might in the future, but prices have been dropping as far as storage goes and not increasing. And it, diminishes our ability to compete with everybody else that
Which-
has storage.
His next door neighbor is gonna face the same thing, because again, we've had staff level meetings with Mike Panos and his dad, and a gentleman that wants to do a C-store and condo storage to the east. They're gonna make them segment this thing in, Joe.
Listen, I have no if NDOT wants to set out the process that we can issue a waiver, I want that in writing from NDOT before we're going forward with this.
here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because at the end of the day, NDOT may say a lot of things like they're saying to you, Merrillville's requesting this, which we're not.
Yeah.
But I want everything crystal clear as to the process that we can issue a waiver. If we get that process and we go about it that way,
Well, and again, what grinds me, and it should as well as Leona and Margie, is we're spending money on paving. We've got $12.5 million worth of paving. And you told us we had to put these roads in on your highway to service the traffic that's on your highway. First and foremost, everyone on this council knows how I feel about Broadway. Mark, you and I have talked about that. They should be embarrassed between US 30 and 231, the condition of State Road 53. It's a joke. So, but you're going to make developers put these in. You're not even gonna take any responsibility, and you're gonna dump it off on Steve and the town. I don't see where that's, I hear what you're saying, Joe,
they
but,
call that an unfunded mandate, and the
Yeah.
state does it all the time. So
Yeah.
that's be.
And I submitted a kind of a plan just for our sake, of providing our neighbor with a 40-foot ingress and egress easement. Because the overall desire, what MDOT's trying to do is cut down the road cuts or the curb cuts on the road for safety purposes. And if I look on the other side of the road, there's a significant number of curb cuts, and it cuts down on some of them, but You know, there's already a lot of agricultural curb cuts out there that we could utilize, and they're also on various parcels. Now, you know, there's some areas that we could connect a couple of them together, but then, and then we could connect this one with our property owner to the east, but then it goes up to a pretty serious hill.
But here's
it
where I'm
difficult.
coming from.
Yeah.
As a town attorney. So if we don't get something crystal clear from NDOT on the procedure on which to issue a waiver or not issue a waiver, we just decide to let you guys run willy-nilly, then at the end of the day, the state may come back to us as a town and say, you're gonna install the road and you're gonna pay $500,000.
Right. No, I don't want to go down that road. I'm not trying to propose that at all, Joe.
No, but what I'm saying is, that's the position we're caught in right now.
Yeah, I get you.
See, and I'm
You think
looking
it
at
would
the
be-
satellite, I'm looking at the satellite view of your neighbors to the south, on the other side. And yes, there's an extensive frontage road system on the Hobart side, running from Albany's through the churches. I can understand that. Churches generate traffic on Sunday. Albany's generates a ton of traffic, 7 days a week. But a storage unit, you're not gonna, generate that kind of traffic. On any day of the week.
It's on the south side in both Hobart and Merrillville, Brian, it's
Right.
hodgepodge. You know, we did the dentist office. I think you were on the
Right.
plan commission. We did the dentist office, they put it in. You got 2 houses, or 3 houses, Jim Sione's old house.
Right.
The boys have got it. Then you've got the church. The church has got a frontage road system. Those 3 houses do not.
Yep.
You know,
And
now I look
see
at
it
this.
right here.
I look at this map and I recognize this light area mark close to Grand Boulevard. That's owned by Pete Mokel. I know that because Lamar's got 2 billboards with Pete.
This is Hobart.
But it's got the frontage road system in. So how did you make someone that didn't develop their property put the frontage road system in Hobart?
That's exactly right. And so I think that's what we wanted to add some additional detail, even if you're not gonna make the decision. So, just to make it clear, the property we're talking about here is the SOA Crown Point LLC parcel that's in the middle. You know, and so the roadway structure would at best be hodgepodge. And, you know, we've got the dentist office at the northwest corner of Randolph and Route 30, and that, you know, that can't have a road at that point. So it's just gonna be, it can't connect to Randolph at any point.
Right.
And as I mentioned on our call, when we were talking with NDOT last week, all the way to the left, and I know that they said that it doesn't matter to them because they didn't have rights because there wasn't any access onto Route 30, but on State Road 51, you know, that area there could be wetlands, I think, on that corner there. In addition
That
to,
church.
in addition to Lamar's billboard that's on the parcel that, Storage of America has, that's gonna be affected by this roadway. So
Right.
there's several different things that are going on here that
Yep.
make it not a viable solution.
Where the gas station stuff.
And we might, I think, we'd be willing to have Mark draft a letter of waiver that can be reviewed by the city or town. And, you know, listing a lot of these agencies, but also have a plan that shows this aerial view, shows where the curb cuts are, where the potential frontage roads could be, you know, and then see if the MDOT would adopt that or not as far as a plan, at least for us to be able to continue, but then it would also serve as somewhat of a master plan or some sort of plan for the town of Merrillville to guide other property owners along that area, to, you know, where their curb cuts would be. And we're willing to share a curb cut with our neighbor to the east, because that makes the most sense grade-wise, where the entrance is and where the crossover is and things of that nature. But going anywhere to the west is somewhat problematic because of elevations of the property. And then there's also the property to our west has an existing curb cut there already. And then there's another curb cut on the parcel to the next property. So it makes a lot of sense for them to possibly share, you know, maybe a couple curb cuts. But, you know, I think that we have to develop some sort of plan, at least for us, and we're willing to, you know, help out the town of Merrillville to kind of master plan this for curb cuts that gives everybody some direction.
I have no problem with you, you know, doing something like that, but I defer to our attorney is we have to be protected from NDOT, so you're at their mercy at this point. If NDOT gives you the okay, I have no problem with it.
But it would come from, you know, Mark would draft it, but then the town of, you know, Joe would probably review it on behalf of the town of Merrillville to actually send it out, to make sure it's representing the town of Merrillville as well.
So what are we actually sending out?
A request for a waiver from having this.
I'm not aware of a
band-aid
waiver
front
process, but if there's a waiver process, we'll be more than willing to help you participate in it.
Yeah.
In any way we need to. But again, right now, I thought these frontage roads were pretty, in stone or in concrete in terms of what they wanted and how they wanted it. Now, if they're gonna relent from that, they're gonna issue waivers, we have no problem in supporting you on that.
Why don't we have Steve and Bob contact NDOT? Why don't you guys contact NDOT?
I can call
See if there's a
Alan.
procedure. If there is, we'll move forward with it. If they're not, I agree with Joe, and, there's not a whole lot we can do if they're
So-
gonna say no.
So what are we waiving? We're waiving, not,
Waiving
we're waiving the
frontage road
frontage road?
requirement.
We're
Can
aiding
we
them.
do that?
No. Here's what we're doing. We're aiding them in support of lobbying NDOT to waive to waive the frontage road requirement. So that's what we're doing.
Well, I have a question. Has NDOT ever done that before?
We don't know.
Because I never thought they did, my opinion, but Steve.
Yeah, I don't think,
Bob should know.
I don't think they will. I mean, you're,
Because I have my doubts on that. If that doesn't go through with NDOT, what's our next step, attorney?
We don't have a next step.
If the state says you gotta put in the frontage road,
It's up to town.
it's on them.
It's on them, so they have to put in the frontage road.
Right, and again, this all comes down to due diligence on the buyers, I think.
hey, Sean.
Well, this happened after, a year, I think, working on this with them?
That's the problem.
They came in sick many months later on this,
Mark, you and I both know, I can't override the governor or the state of Indiana.
No, I know. but
Regarding a
but
requirement.
I think Buyer did their due diligence, I will say that.
Okay.
We got caught here.
But what I'm saying is, if the state puts in this requirement, then we're at their mercy. You're at their mercy, we're at their mercy. And there's no way I can override them, because if I override them, then the town's potentially gonna be penalized to put in the.
It's usually, when I come across this, it's usually a deed restriction on the property.
Right.
Because it's a significant expense. So I would pay a different price today for that property than I would tomorrow.
Yeah, and see,
After the fact.
if-
Because I don't know what that's the problem is. They're supposed to do a deed restriction on something like that to give us due process.
Well, and
We
how
didn't give
far
any
back
due
does
process,
does
we were just-
Barb's deed go? I know she and Bob had that property for the longest time. But, that's something that should have been disclosed up front if there's a
Yeah.
deed restriction.
Oh, yeah. And
Where is the Panos property?
To the
it's
east,
almost like a take.
It's immediately to the east.
It's to the east, okay.
One that says Lake County Trust on it, Brian. See where it says Storage of America
I'll call,
on the drawing Mark gave us?
I'll send Alan an email.
Well, are they approving this development, Panos's, or are they?
They haven't filed with us yet. No, they haven't filed with us yet. They have to file with
Well,
us.
if they have the same restriction, they're gonna have the same problem.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why we brought the discussion to the
Now,
planning commission.
with the Panos property, if he's talking about putting in, that's the one that's gonna put in the gas station?
Gas station in
Okay,
front and
then that is something that generates a lot of traffic. I can understand NDOT
Yeah.
requiring them to put in a
No
frontage
need
road.
frontage road.
But in this case, without somebody having, Bill, we can't look at a future use without even a petition on the table. But if, Joe's hit it on the head, if the state requires it, that's it.
Well, the state was also representing that the town of Merrillville was in favor of these frontage roads. And I think that was the key thing that brought us here this evening.
Well, I think what you have to do is, I saw the letter, you're gonna have to confront their corporation council and tell them, in no how, no way, has the town acquiesced one way or another regarding these frontage roads. And quite frankly, it's tenor and tone of at least a couple councilmen that they're not in favor of frontage roads specifically for this project. Okay?
So
Thank-
at this point, we can't continue until a letter is written to NDOT according to our.
Steve and Bob are gonna
I think
contact
Our
Steve.
engineering dream team's gonna get on there.
Yeah, I'll call Alan Holder Reed I'll send him an email in the morning. Alan Holder Reed, the, district traffic engineer, and we'll have a conversation with him.
And Steve,
So we will continue this development after our dream team.
Well, we've already approved this
Steve
development,
had,
you know.
I mean, what they're here
Right,
for
right.
tonight.
Yeah.
And we will continue after Steve and Bob, our dream team looks into it, correct, guys?
Our engineering dream.
Our
Absolutely,
engineering-
Yes, ma'am.
absolutely.
Well, I'd be interested also to see chapter and verse what the state of Indiana is quoting
What the
as,
requirements are.
you have to put in a frontage road and you
Oh.
have to maintain
Well,
it.
with that gas station coming
Well,
down
no,
the
no,
line.
that's the gas station.
Yeah,
you
that'll
know.
be a frontage road for sure.
You know, I'm just,
I have
all
an
these frontage
idea.
roads that we've inherited all these years, I would love to see them quote chapter and verse that required every one of those businesses to put in a frontage road.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
I
where
wish
is
you
the state
best.
statute
I
that
hope
says
it
they
goes
have to have
through,
one?
But I have my doubts with NDOT, but we'll see. We
Good
have
old
two
NDOT.
good engineers here, we'll try to find.
Steve, I want to share I shared it with Sean. It was just kind of like an option of a easement for a property owner to the east. If we can get away and convince MDOT that that's a similar solution for the safety, is that something that they could adapt, you know? Having a access with our neighbor to the east, and then the property owner to the west, they would have something to the west. That's 80% of the whole frontage right there is that issue, you know, for our standpoint. Instead of putting the way I like to call it, you're looking at putting a tourniquet on a cat scratch, you know? Does that make sense?
It does.
All right.
Well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
anyway,
time,
I'm sure
everybody.
you two know where you're at, and what you have to do, and we will wait for your progress, I hope, okay?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
For attending
Yep.
the meeting.
I gotta roll.
In the meantime, can I have an adjournment to?
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn. Thank you, Sean. Second?
Second?
Aye.
Okay,
Right.
we'll
Thank you, Mark.
contact you, Mark.
Appreciate it.
Meeting-
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
No.